how incredibly successful people think. It's a question that plagued me for many years, especially in my early 20s when I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to do in my life and where I was going and the things that I wanted to do that were important for me, etc. And I remember when I first came to the United States, that was in the year 2000, my mom, shortly after, she sent me a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I'm sure you've heard of it. It's been a classic now for many years. Back then it was, fairly new. And it's by Robert Kiyosaki, if you haven't heard of it. And this book really transformed the way I think about everything. It gave me a new perspective that wasn't there before because it didn't come with my upbringing. My parents didn't have this perspective. I didn't really know anybody that had this type of perspective. And this book really, changed things for me dramatically. And I went on this quest that lasted, well, till today, trying to find out, how successful people think, what are the things that they do differently to get the results that they get. And I just wanted to learn. I just wanted to know more and more about these topics. And to be honest with you, it wasn't until I really let go of the notion that this was too complicated, to understand where they're at mentally, because the gap is so huge, right, between a very successful person and where you are, like a regular middle class person with a job that makes, I don't know, 40, 50, 60,000, maybe $100,000 a year, right? The difference is huge. So you think naturally that the difference in thinking is huge, but it's not really like that. And again, it wasn't until I let go of that notion that I, was able to really understand, how is it that they produce these seemingly crazy results, right, that nobody else is producing. None of this information is really a secret. It's always been available to us from ancient times, starting with the Bible and documents that they found in Babylon, that talk about how to handle business, how to handle money. And if you fast forward, all these years to today's time, you have all these books that talk about, success and how to achieve things. You go to the internet, you find any type of information that you would like. And, it's very easy to put it together if you have a high level perspective on this topic. Figuring out how successful people think is not that complicated. All you gotta do is really look at someone's results, right? The success that they're having, and backtrack, to look at the steps that they logically had to take in order to, get to where they are at, right? So, you can learn a lot of information by doing that simple exercise and just by learning how to ask better questions about what's happening. That's how you really understand someone's mindset, in how they're able to accomplish and all these things and get the results that are not, the norm, right, for the rest of us. That's why they call them the 1%, right? So what is it that they do? How is it that they do what they do in order to get these results? And the answer is very simple. If you just look at someone who's very successful, someone that you admire, you follow, and you just ask yourself, what is it that this person would have to believe in order to have all this success? And then the answers just start, showing up within you. You don't have to go too far to find this stuff out and read like a gazillion books like I did, trying to figure out, the answer to this. And the reality is that you already have these answers within you. If you just do that and ask yourself that of someone, like let's say, Richard Branson, and you ask yourself like, what is it that this guy has to believe in order to be able to achieve this kind of success that is totally like off the charts? Same thing with like a Warren Buffett or anyone, Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, right? You do the same exercise and you will find that the answer trickles down to just a few things, a handful of concepts and things that they seem to think differently than the rest, but it's not so much like that. It's just the way that they choose to act around their thinking, okay? Because these people are just people like anyone else, like you and I. Okay, they have problems, they have challenges, but it's how they decide to deal with these challenges, how they decide to go about things, the problems that they encounter, etc., that makes a huge difference, because the majority of people are just not doing this type of stuff. And I'll tell you what it is. One of the things, probably the most impactful concept that these people believe in, is that they can do anything. It's a matter of having a certain degree of confidence that they can figure out anything, that there's no problem too big for them to solve. Okay, and if they can't solve it, they'll find someone who can solve the problem. They surround themselves with people that think differently than they do. So they minimize a lot of blind spots that they know they have. Okay, just like anybody else. We all have a lot of blind spots because we can only see what we can see, what we've been programmed to, let in to our consciousness. But if you have a group of people that can do that for you or help you see things differently, then you minimize, the risk in anything that you're doing. But let me go back to the concept of having that level of confidence that they can do and that they can solve problems, that they can, accomplish things, okay? Having that confidence is what probably got Steve Jobs to do what he did with Apple, okay? Apple didn't happen overnight, okay? It's something that's been happening since the 70s. They started at the 70s. Nobody really knew about Apple. Nobody ever cared about Apple except for certain industries that, that we're catering to. But because that confidence that allowed him to persevere for so long, so many years, until something that he created caught on, like real big. And therein lies one of the secrets, which is the confidence to go the whole way, to actually, do whatever it takes to make it happen, whatever it takes. That's that confidence, that perseverance, okay? So that's really one of the things that they all share. Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Steve Jobs, Richard Branson, Robert Kiyosaki, you name it. They have this confidence to figure things out along the way. Whatever comes their way, they'll figure it out. There's a funny meme going around in social media these days, which is this super successful guy being interviewed by someone, and the interviewer asks him, what's the secret to success? And the guy says, well, making the right decisions. How do you make the right decisions? Experience. How do you gain experience? Making the wrong decisions. And I think there's no better way to really explain how successful people think. Nobody likes to fail. It doesn't feel good. And we all try to avoid it as much as we can. But the reality is, just like very successful people, we have an enormous amount of failures, right? That's exactly how we've learned to be who we are, and that's how we've gotten to where we are, right? Difference between someone super successful and this average Joe is their willingness to fail. Let's say you're trying to accomplish something, and there's only so many steps that you have to take in order to accomplish it. That's pretty much any goal. There's a finite number of steps that need to be taken for the goal to be accomplished. If you know that it's going to take you 10 steps, and out of those 10 steps, you're going to fail 7 times, okay? You know that for sure. How fast do you want to fail? Good question, right? How fast, if you know that it takes 10 steps and seven of them are going to be failures, but you know that after the 10th step, you're there, you have accomplished your goal. How fast would you want to, fail? How fast do you want to go through these 10 steps in order to reach your goal, right? Very quickly, right? Very quickly. If this is a very important goal for you, you just want to fly through that stuff and get it over with, right? Like 7 failures and then 3 more steps and you're there. Like, you want to do it real quick. That is another concept that super successful people understand very well, that you cannot get from point A to point B in a straight line. There's going to be an enormous amount of trial and error, especially if it's the first time that you do something. So you try, you make a mistake, you learn, you try, you make a mistake, you learn, you try, you make a mistake, you learn. And that's how you build up your abilities, your capabilities, and everything else, your skill set, in order to be able to achieve your goal. It happens to all of us. Just look at your life and see how many times have you gone through that process with everything, with a new job, going through school or whatnot, whatever goal that you've had, it hasn't been a straight line. Never. You go through a process, a learning process, where you try something, and you may get some mentorship from friends or co-workers or whatnot, training, etc., that help you along the way, but you still, in order to be a master, in order to accomplish whatever you need to accomplish, you need to have made every possible mistake in the book so you can get there. That's how you get there. Just look at your life and see how this is true. The super successful people have this uncanny ability to just withstand the amount of failure, the amount of problems that they can handle, right? That's also why they build these teams to help them, because one person cannot really do it. They just try, fail, learn, try, fail, learn. That understanding of the process is what gets them to accomplish so much, because they're able to take this beating, for long periods of time, because they just know that if they're not there yet, it's because they still got to learn one more skill, or they still have one more problem to solve, and then they go and go and go and continue all the way until they get there, right? We've all been through those paths. If you look at your life, you'll realize that if you understand this concept, you're like 90% of the way there. The faster you embrace the idea that failure is the way to success, the faster you're going to be able to break away from your comfort zone and start getting like real results in your life. That's when you're going to be able to achieve pretty much any one of your goals, because it's just a matter of, focusing on the goal and going for it and never stopping until you get there. That's how successful people do it. There's no other way. The only problem is that sometimes we just see the end result and we just think that the guy got lucky, it was an overnight success or whatever, but you don't understand that the guy's been doing this stuff for 30 years, trying, failing, learning, trying, failing, learning, trying, failing, learning, right? Going through this process until he was able to run out of mistakes. There were no other mistakes to be made, right? He knew how to solve every problem all the way up, and once he did that, he got to be an overnight success. The problem with most of us who come from a working class family, is that we've been surrounded by the notion that failure is to be avoided at all costs. Starting with, our beautiful school system, right? That is great at punishing you for failing, right? And of course I'm being sarcastic here, but it starts with that, right? So you go through so many years in your life, your forming years, your developing years, right? Going through that system that punishes failure. What you get at the outset is, you never want to fail ever again, especially in front of other people, right? That's one of the problems that we're all going against, okay? That's why, when you start getting some of this perspective to really understand, to think about, how successful people think, which is not so different. They think just like you. They just, have a different perspective on how to accomplish what they want to accomplish, okay? It's not by luck, it's by focused work. And I get that it's really hard to see this when you've never put yourself out there, in a big way, for others to criticize you, for you to make public mistakes, okay? Which is gonna happen. It's really hard to embrace this concept. I get it. But again, just like I mentioned to you before, if you go back in life and you look at everything that you have been able to accomplish, you will see that there was a trial and error process that happened until you got there. Sometimes you were forced to go through the process, and that's why it happened, because you were forced. There were other things, having an effect on those results or whatever, or your actions, and that's how it happened, right? Right now, if you want to reach the next level, whatever that is, the process is going to be exactly the same. You're still going to have to try, fail, learn, try, fail, learn for a little bit until you get there. But I tell you this, the more you put yourself out there, the more you try this process consciously, the more you're going to be able to get comfortable with it and understand that that's the only way. And that's how your mindset starts shifting completely, because now you don't see your failure anymore as something to be avoided. You see your failure as something that you want to get through these failures faster. You want to fail faster and learn faster so you can get to your goal faster. Hope you got a lot of value from this video and that you learned a thing or two. And if you did, please subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell to be notified next time I have a video available for you to watch. In the meantime, go ahead and watch these two videos right here. I'm sure you'll get a lot of value from them as well. Leave your comments down below, please, and let me know what part of the video was the most impactful for you. Until next time, I wish you all the best, and let's get out there and start changing lives one session at a time. See ya.